A doctor. A person who treats people who are ill. A factory worker. A person who works in a factory. A farmer. A person who works on a farm. A firefighter. A person who fights fires. A journalist. A person who writes for newspapers. A mechanic. A person who repairs cars. A nurse. A police officer. A person who catches criminals. A shop assistant. A person who works in a shop. A soldier. A person who works in an army. A teacher. A person who teaches children. A student. A person who learns at school. A vet. A person who treats animals. A painter. A person who paints pictures. A singer. A person who sings on a stage. An actor. A person who acts in films. A builder. A person who builds houses. A baker. A person who bakes bread. A paramedic. A person who drives an ambulance. A secretary. A person who works in an office. A person who drives an ambulance. A person who acts in films. A person who acts in films. A person who builds houses. A person who builds houses. A person who treats people who are ill. A person who works in a shop. A person who works in a shop. A person who writes for newspapers. A person who writes for newspapers. A person who paints pictures. A person who paints pictures. A painter. A person who treats animals. A person who treats animals. A person who acts in films. A person who acts in films. An actor. A person who builds houses. A person who builds houses. A builder. A person who looks after ill people in a hospital. A person who looks after ill people in a person who treats people who are ill. A person who treats people who are ill. A person who teaches children. A person who teaches children. A person who drives an ambulance. A person who drives an ambulance. A paramedic.